Speaker.
Thank you. The member for Dartmouth North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The government's job is to take care of its citizens. That's why we establish a government. We aren't blaming you, as the Minister of Justice seems to think. However, if it's too much of a responsibility for the government to take care of its citizens, then maybe it's time they step down and let someone who does care step down. We're not holding you accountable for what's happening. However, you are responsible to do something about it when you are in a position of government. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about when we need to bail out a company. Now, there are a couple of reasons why you should always bail out a failing industry. First of all, when there's a chance of a monopoly happening, that's a reason to bail out an industry, which is when you have one company buying up all the other small companies that offer the same services because they're going bankrupt. And so then there's just this one company who offers this one service. So they get to control how much they charge for it, and they can charge what they want because they are the only company that can offer this service in this current location. Now, another reason, which is a big one, especially pertaining to this debate today, is when there are going to be massive job losses to this company. And we've already talked about with this bill many times that if this bill is to pass, where we are not going to bail out small businesses and businesses that need bailing out, even though they may not be held responsible for their current economic state, we need to bail them out when we know there's going to be job losses to these companies if they are to fail. And we know that it's going to be difficult for the people in this company to find another job. If they can't find another job, then this just increases our rate of unemployment, as well as puts a strain on all these social services that that the government is trying so hard to protect. Another reason is when it's a product that is limited in Canada. So if we have to start importing this product from other companies, it becomes an issue because then we might run into another trade deficit, which would be a big issue, especially considering what's going on right now. And this happens when we import more than we export. Now, another point I'd like to raise is that we have a cost of living that's increasing, which means our standard of living is decreasing. Yes, it is. And so...
Order, please. The member's time has expired. Thank you. The honourable member for Pictou Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I come from Pictou Centre, and in my area, there's recently been a closing of Trenton Works. Trenton Works closed because it can no longer find people to sell its product to. If a bailout was given there, it would have been useless because the product was not in demand, as it is in other small companies. It's companies with leisure items. They're not in demand because everybody's saving away. So what good is giving them money like grants and loans if they're not going to be able to sell anyway? There was a reference made earlier about a sinking ship. It sinks because of a hole. You shove money in a hole, it's still going to get wet. In the end, you've got money that's soaked and useless in a hole. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The honourable member from Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, again, to go back to the image of a sinking ship, I would like to iterate that our ship is not sinking. Things are not that bad as the opposition would have you believe. They would have us running around like chickens with their heads cut off, handing out money left, right, and center. Is that what we want to do? Do we want to play fast and loose with the taxpayers' money? I think not. I think we are a responsible government that needs to do what the taxpayers want with their money. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Speaker would like to remind certain members of the gallery that they are here to watch and to watch only and put their pieces of paper down. Thank you very much. To not influence debate either way. The Honourable Member from Kings West.
I'm honourable. My first point, Mr. Speaker, would be directed towards the member from Bedford Birch Cove. He's obviously a studious, astute student of geography, and I'd like to remind him of what multiplier effect truly is. He said the multiplier effect given by doctors and nurses and so on and so forth, people of the service industry, would be very large, and by not providing bailout money, we can put more money into services such as this. I'd like to remind the member from Bedford Birch Cove that hospitals and schools and these sorts of things are constructed because of a need for them, a demand, where people are living. They're not built there first and then people come to the schools or hospitals. They're built there after the people settle an area. People won't be there anymore if they have no stores to buy food. They'll starve and die. There's been a couple of references of questioning the opposition about where are these massive job losses. I'll give you a few examples. ACA Co-op in New Minas, Maple Leaf in Kennard, Lewis Moldings, Bear River, Avon Foods. These are all places that employed hundreds of people. These communities depended on this source of income. This income is now not there. The people have had to find livelihoods elsewhere. They don't exist. There was also one more comment I made by the Honourable Minister of Justice about lobster. The question was raised about if we're in a state of economic downturn, who's going to buy lobster in Nova Scotia? Well, I'm pretty sure that the lobster is not just exclusively fished for Nova Scotia. It might actually be used for trade purposes outside of the province. Nova Scotia has few natural resources in which to use to enhance the economy of our province, and we have to use them as best we can. Timber, mining minerals, things like fisheries and lobster are all things that we must implement to provide an economic stimulus. These things cannot be done if you take the stool out from underneath the people standing on it, and that would be what you're doing to the small private businesses or any private businesses by not providing them any economic or financial aid. Thank you.
Thank you. The Speaker recognizes the member from Victoria the Lakes.
First of all, I'd like to say that financial aid does not guarantee the success of a company. If the product is not in need, then the public is not going to buy it. They're only going to buy the necessities. Secondly, the cost of a $1 million bailout for one company would mean that emergency departments would close. Now, which one of you would like to go back to your communities and tell them that their emergency department is going to be closed and they have to travel an hour, 45 minutes, whatever, to get the help they need? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The member from Pictou East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go back to what the honourable member from Anakinishit said. She said that 46% of the budget was healthcare or education. I was wondering where they got the money to pay for the Crystal Company to come to bail them out. I was wondering that one. I'm very confused of how you got money there. And in reference to what the last member just said, she referenced emergency rooms closing. Like, how would we want to go back to that? I distinctly remember them releasing a document that said 38 emergency rooms were closed for over 2,000 hours over the last year. And that was under your guys' leadership. And I think that you need to address those problems before you go lambasting us about what we've been doing. But what can we expect from the government that cannot balance their own books?
The member from Cole Harbour Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd just like to address again, the Orange Party and the Red Party have been asking continually throughout this debate for more numbers on what constitutes coming out of this economic recession, or when are we going to see indicators that we can remove this bill if, and I pray that it doesn't go into service into Nova Scotia.